Putting ourselves first as women with Urmi Hossain on the Women's Park podcast with Janik. Women for centuries have been known to put everyone else first but themselves. Women feel over-responsible for everyone else, kids, partners, work, parents, and secretly become resentful, exhausted, and lost in their own life. Most women today would answer that it's what they do, but they probably wish they could change that. If you're one of those women, today's episode is for you. Welcome aboard the podcast, A Women's Spark with Janik, a place to show women how powerful they are and remind them of the spark that they carry. A place to feel seen and understood when we don't fully have what it takes to get back up on a hard day, or the people around us to get back up on a hard day. I want to build a community of women who wants to help one another and inspire each other to become stronger and more united as we were born to be. Today, we're going to touch on women putting themselves first for once. Did you know many women consistently put their needs before everyone else's needs in front of their own, which has significant implication on their health and well-being? Almost 80% report putting their loved ones' health before their own. This tendency is linked to caregiving roles where women make up of 66%, often providing unpaid care, averaging 20 hours a week, mainly to family members. Women are also more likely than men to be people pleasers, with 64% saying they often prioritize others' needs at the expense of their own. The prioritization can be driven by social conditioning, where women are expected to be self-sacrificing and caregivers, which can reinforce their social bonds and sense of purpose, but also leads to self-neglect. Women who put others first often delay or skip medical appointments. They self-medicate and suppress their own health needs, which can compromise their well-being in the long term. Today's guest is changing that for herself. Urmi Hossain is a self-published author, a speaker, and podcast host who works in the financial services industry in Canada. Her book, Discovering Your Identity, A Rebirth from Interracial Struggle, explores her journey as a third culture kid navigating the complexities of culture and belonging. She also hosts the Stories Beyond Borders, a podcast that amplifies diverse voices on identity, migration, and language. When we come back, we're going to welcome Urmi. Welcome back to a Women's Spark podcast with Janik. On the show today, we're going to be welcoming Urmi Hossain. She's a self-published author, a speaker, a blogger, and a podcast host who works in the financial services industry in Canada. She holds both the CFA and the CAIA designation and is passionate about empowering women through mentorship, education, and public speaking. Please welcome our Spark of the Day, Urmi. Hi, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, very good. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So today we're talking about putting ourselves first as women. And initially in the first introduction, I said that women, well, we tend to put everyone else first before ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so tell us about your journey of maybe changing that for yourself.
Yeah, I would say that for myself, this whole, journey of like putting myself first came at the later stage in my life. It came closer to when I was in my 20s and early 30s. And I think before that, I wasn't too much aware of like the need of putting myself first or the need to prioritize myself. I think that as a woman, but also as a South Asian woman, we are often very much conditioned to serve others, make others happy, others' needs come before you. And I still do hear that. But then what happened is at some point I was like, okay, I'm putting everyone else first, but then what about me? Who's thinking about me? And sometimes I used to think this is probably selfish. All I'm doing is thinking about myself. But then I spoke with other women, and there was this woman in particular who said, you cannot pour from an empty cup, which made me really reflect a little bit because it's true. If you're not happy, if you're not taking care of yourself first, how can you take care of other people? And I also spoke with like mentors and people that are like women who are much older than me, with who like I opened up, and they said, putting yourself first or prioritizing yourself is not coming from a place of like being selfish. It's actually coming from a place of empathy and love. And that's how I started to like realize that it's important to put ourselves first so that we can better take care of other people.
Absolutely. Do you have maybe uh, an example of maybe when you might have been more pouring into others as opposed to pouring into yourself?
I mean, it happened pretty often. I think as a daughter of immigrant parents, and my parents are from Bangladesh, I think I'm always very much conditioned on basically following what they always told me to do. And I remember like my parents always telling me like your job is to make your parents proud, your job is to make us happy. And I felt there was a lot of pressure in that, like every time I was thinking how much, what can I do to like meet those expectations? And I realized at some point that yes, I'm reaching that, but then I feel like it's never enough. And it was at that point that I felt like this is draining. This is quite draining because no matter what I do, no matter what, route I take, it's like it doesn't seem like it's fulfilling any of their desires or needs. And it's at that moment that I started to like, put some boundaries, like healthy boundaries, which I think are very important to put, whether it's family members or non-family members, just to protect my energy and my well-being. And so, like meeting the expectations from your parents, this is something that I used to do, but now I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to focus more on myself, and I'm not responsible. This is what I told myself. I'm not responsible to how people are reacting to things. I'm not responsible to people's emotions. I did my best, but I cannot go beyond what I can do. And so that's how
Absolutely.
I approached it.
And how was that received towards the people you were closest to who were used to the old Urmi?
Let me tell you this, it's not, it's always very uncomfortable at the beginning, because you start to have a sense of guilt, especially because of the way you're conditioned to think, right? So you start to have a sense of guilt, and people are not happy at the beginning because they start to think, why are you like that now? Why are you so different? But the more you do it and the more comfortable you become in your skin, you let go of how people's are reacting to it. And so at the beginning, it was very, very uncomfortable, even for myself. Like I could see how people were not happy, but I needed to do that for myself. Like I cannot really, I was not created to live for other people's, happiness. And I realized that it should not be my responsibility to make other people happy. Yeah.
Really like what you're saying. It's and in the data, the statistics that I mentioned earlier before you came on the show is that nearly 80% of women report putting their loved ones' health before their own, and caregiving, 66% are caregivers, and most of them are obviously women, and
Yeah.
they'll put their everybody else's needs at the expense of their own health, their own well-being, their own happiness, and
Yeah.
usually when we start putting ourselves first, and m- there's going to be a follow-up question on that, it does disturb a lot of people around us. We Yes, I know it's step by step. You said earlier, the more you do it, the more you get used to it. But how did that affect the people around you? Did you end up losing friends around you? Did you have to reestablish how your relationships were with either friends, family members, coworkers?
So I did not lose friends because of that or family members. I think people around me saw me with different eyes, which was
Hmm.
at the end my end goal. Like I wanted people to look at me with a lot more respect, and which I was able to get by taking these little actions. But even the little actions that I took, like I had to like read a little bit about it. Like there was an actual book where they spoke about like healthy boundaries, how to set up boundaries and stuff like that. And it was by after reading this book that I was like, I'm gonna take actions on this and I'm gonna see how people react. And so I would say that the expectations changed. And at the same time, I would say that the relationship is better, and at this and it's better, I would say, and I did not lose anyone. Like people just see me differently. They see me as a new person, but I also think it's because I like when this happened, I was in my late 20s and now in my 30s. I also think that I started to care less about other people's opinions and how they were perceiving me. So it was also a work that I had to do on myself, that I should care less about how people are reacting to things when I'm taking an action for myself. And luckily, like I did get few validations by, watching YouTube videos or seeing how other women, take actions on this. Because at some point you start to think, okay, is it normal that, I'm going through these thoughts that I want to put some boundaries, that I want to say no to things. And I realized that there are other people, other women especially, that are feeling the same way as well. And so it validated a little bit about how I felt about doing all of these things. So yeah, my relationship did not really, like people did not walk away from me, basically. Yeah.
That's very good, because I think if you're doing such a transition for yourself, you want the people that are really meant to be in your life to continue supporting you, especially in a transition where you want to respect yourself even more and going through a change that is gonna be positive for you, right? So that's when
Mm-hmm.
you see who's really into your life for you, as opposed to I don't want to say take advantage of you, but like, or use you, but they're there for the who you are at the core, as opposed to taking advantage of what you have to give, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Being a doormat.
exactly. Exactly.
Um, Now, what was your state of mind? Because you said, in mid-20s to today, you did a lot of changes. It was step by step. And it's not a straight line, right? It's not, okay, I start here, I'm going there. And when I reach there, I'm finished, right? It's an up and down. There's some harder days, some easier days. What was your state of mind throughout those years? Just so that the listeners can relate and be like, oh, I'm going through something similar like that. It's normal. I'm feeling this and that. So what was your state of mind throughout those several years?
Let me tell you this. For for many years, I think I had a lot of hesitation, thinking, you know, like, so basically, like, let's say when I was in my 20s, and especially when I was a teenager, like, I remember always telling people, okay, my job is to make everyone happy. Like, I was born to make everyone happy. But when I started to realize that that was really impacting me, like how some days I was really unhappy. I was really unhappy because I'm thinking, okay, this is what I'm doing for other people. I'm giving my time and energy showing up for things for them. But when I ask the same for other people, I'm not getting it. And it's some days it was just really, it was draining. I was sad. And I would openly speak about this with a friend to understand that if this is this normal, what I'm thinking right now. And some days I had like a lot of hesitation about, do I say yes to things or do I not? If someone asked me to go to an event but I don't feel like going, should I still go and show up? And from my side, sometimes there was resistance because I knew deep inside that I didn't want to be there, but I still showed up. But then I would come home and be sad about it because I'm like, I don't know why I went to an event that I was invited to go from with a friend, right? So I went through a lot of hesitation, a lot of self-doubt at some point. And but then when you are going through a lot of these thoughts, then you snap because you're like, I
Mm-hmm.
just cannot take it anymore because it's just, like the bubble keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and then it explodes. And when you reach that end, it's too late. It's really too late. You have to take actions before. Yeah, go ahead.
Something comes to mind immediately when you talk about you're not feeling it.
a decision's not feeling right or you're going
Yes.
above and beyond, right? So
Yeah.
I can speak for myself, but then I'm going to ask you what it does to you. But our body talks to us. Our body tells us if we
Yeah.
want or don't want to do something. If something doesn't feel right, something is going to happen in our body. Me, I'll probably start trembling, or I'll get a knot in my stomach. What is it for you when
Yeah.
you're not listening to yourself and putting others ahead of you when really you don't want to be doing that?
I get really nervous, honestly. I get really nervous. Some days I get even very anxious about it. And like I have to do some breathing exercises to go back to how I was. But I do get really, really nervous. And like you said, you have to really listen to your body, which is something that I had to learn like really later on in my years because before I just ignored every single signal that I was getting, but now I really take time to really listen, to really also listen to my intuition. Because before, maybe like my intuition or that little voice told me like, if you don't feel like going, don't go, but I would still go. But now I really take time to process that and actually really think about, okay, do I absolutely want to do this for the person or for myself? And now I'm telling myself like, if it's not serving me, or if it's not aligned with my purpose, I don't have to do it. I don't have to feel guilty about it. And so, like, saying no, it comes easier for me right now. And I don't feel guilty about it because I had so much sense of guilt. Like, really, like, I think I lived with guilt for so many years, thinking that it's not okay. But you let go of it. Eventually, you let go of it. And it's, by having conversation with other women, maybe by journaling, maybe by reading, motivational books, watching, motivational speeches where they talk about this. And when you listen to other people's stories, especially women's stories and journeys, then you realize that you're not alone in this, that everyone goes through this. And myself coming from also from a South Asian heritage, where we are really conditioned to put, everyone else's first, I started to realize that other women feel the same way as well.
Hmm.
And it's not okay
Absolutely.
because it's not okay. And men are not given, they're not taught to do the same thing. It's just women, I feel like, always.
Oh yeah, there's it's two different worlds. We're brought up to help, to nurture, to be compassionate, to take care of, no matter who it is, children, husbands, family members. Men are more taught to take care of having a roof over the head and
Yeah.
making sure that the food is on the table. So when it comes to the listeners wanting to follow their intuition, it's not a linear journey, and it's obviously a learning curve. We are having to learn to follow our intuition, what we want, what we don't want, and we'll make mistakes along the way. So, what do you think about um, I'll give an example. Someone calls in, wants to invite you somewhere, you say yes immediately because you feel like this will be good for your relationship. This will, for all the other reasons other than you wanting to do it for yourself, you accept. What do you think about coming back on your words?
So I think it's normal to have second thoughts, especially like if you feel like something is not working for you, if something, that event is not online with your values and so forth. But for me, for instance, especially because I think I learned about this throughout the time, like me, if someone invites me to an event, I don't like to give an answer immediately. Like, I think I like to really take
Mhm.
my time to process it, really think about it, see like what this event is about, what time it's about. Is it conflicting with other priorities that I have? And then I like to give an answer. Because the problem with like I would say the problem of like answering immediately is that the other person has expectations of you showing up. And that
Mm.
eventually could have an impact on the relationship. But I think if you make it clear, at the beginning, or if you make it clear after thinking about it, you establish different grounds, I would say. And that like changes a little bit the relationship, but at least, you have a clear idea of what you want to do or what you want to have or what you want to get out of this situation or out of this event. So for me, I typically like to like think a little bit about it, process a little bit about it, and then give an answer. But I think for other people, like you said, growth is not linear. When it comes to, putting boundaries or putting yourself first, I think it's a work in progress. You have to try and make a mistake and see what fits and what does not fit. But I also think that by doing that type of work, you also learn a little bit more about yourself. I think you get a little bit of more clarity of like, okay, this event is not online with me. At least now I know it. I know that this is not made for me. I know that in the future, if something like this happens, I'm going to say no right away. So I think you get a lot of clarity by, doing all of these things or getting invitations. So I think it's a good work for yourself, I would say. Yeah.
Absolutely. I really like that you brought the approach, because I asked, is it okay to say no or just come back on your word? But actually learning to pause and take a moment and decide and give an answer later is actually even more constructive in that learning curve.
Hmm.
We're going on to because we've talked about situations, we've talked about hardships of putting ourselves first. What positive has come out from you putting yourself first?
I think for myself, I got a lot of self-confidence because I think I was always afraid of putting myself first. I was, always worried about people's judgment, always. I don't think there was a moment where I thought, this will be okay. But I think with time, I got a lot more confidence in myself. I think I was able to take a lot more bold actions. And I think there was a personal growth in me, like as a person. And I think by putting myself first, I think I also was able to achieve a sense of happiness for myself, like being able to like follow my passions, being able to follow my dreams, going after the things I want to, like I want for myself and not what people want for themselves. And
Absolutely.
so,
Always helping, uplifting other people, and then just you being in the back and then cheering them on. But at the end of the day, once they're
yeah,
up here and you're still down here, yeah.
exactly.
You
Exactly. And yeah, go ahead.
no, that was it. It's
So,
good to help others, but it's always better to help yourself first. Like on a plane,
yeah,
put
it,
the mask on yourself first before you help others.
exactly, exactly. And I feel like my energy has shifted more on myself. And so by doing that, I feel like I was even able to better serve other people because I was empowering myself by taking these little actions. So I feel like I got that sense of power that I needed that I don't think I had before for myself. And so I also feel like people saw me differently too. Like now when people see me, like some of my friends or, family members, like I can see that they look at me differently, but in a positive way. They look at me and say, I can see that you do things for yourself. That's really, really good. I'm happy that you take on different projects for yourself. That's really good. And I feel like by doing that, I'm also probably inspiring them to do the same thing for themselves. So
Mhm.
I feel like people see me with like a lot of more respect, a lot more credibility as well. And that's what I'm hoping to do, like to change the narrative so that other women, other girls can do the same thing for themselves too sometimes. Yeah.
Absolutely. How long would you say it took to grasp that concept for you?
Honestly, I think it took me a lot of years, like really, really a lot of years. I, I probably like 4 or 5 years before I was really comfortable with this because I remember always having thoughts about this, always like for many years thinking about, how can I say no to little things? How can I put myself first? I always had those thoughts, but I never took actions on them. And when I made myself vulnerable to people that I trusted, that's when I like started to take little actions. But it really took me a lot to be really comfortable with things, like really like 4 or 5 years at least. Yeah.
Okay. Would you say it improved some of your relationships by taking care of yourself first in
Yeah,
the
I
long
think
haul?
so. Yeah, I think some relationships definitely improved, and also like even let's say with my sister, I think my relationship with her has always been really good, but I think now at least by being an inspiration, I think she can also do the same thing for herself, where I also feel like sometimes she's also like putting other people's needs first. But I can see how like she's also like shifting a little bit and putting herself first. So I think in terms of relationship, I think the women who are in my life, they see me differently, and they see me with like as an inspiration, as someone who, you know, can be as a person of influence, I would say. That's how they see me. Like even like you know, relatives in my family, my nieces and so forth, like they really look at me differently with like different eyes. And so they always say to me like you're very firm, you're very like, you know, ambitious, you're very like bold when it comes to things. And I really like that. And I tell them I want you to do the same thing in your life as well. Like don't get influenced by what other people tell you to do just because they want you to do those things for them, for themselves and not for yourself. So I always say like dream big, you know, be ambitious, follow your dreams. Like that's my message, honestly, by doing all these things that I do for myself.
What mark do you want to put on this planet in this lifetime?
You know what? So I'm very much into mentoring. Like I love like female mentorship, and I love mentoring other women and girls. But one thing that I think I'm good at is that when I have a conversation with another woman, or when let's say I get to know someone on a long term, especially my mentees, one thing that I'm good at identifying is their strengths. And so I feel like my job is really to like identify their strengths so they can tap on this like potential that they have so they can create a more fulfilled life. So I think that's what my job is in this world, because I realize that I'm very good at like observing other people's talents, and when I notice it, I always point it out. So one example is with my niece who's like pretty good at planning an organization. I always tell her, you know, you should like do something about it. And so I'm putting like, you know, by having this conversation, I'm hoping to put like a seed in her head so that she can work on it and like expand it a little bit. So that's what I think I'm meant to be doing in this world.
I love what you're saying. And where can we find you? Where can we find your organization? You, if
So I am the co-chair of an organization called Women in Leadership, and I'm like the co-chair for the Montreal chapter. And in this organization, we have a mentorship program, we have a leadership development program, and we have the mentorship program running right now. So people can just type Women in Leadership Foundation Canada, look for the Montreal chapter, and find our contact details. We are a team of 4 incredible women, and we're here to support the women in Montreal, the women in the community, to really feel uplifted, feel elevated, and to really find their power. So that's one way. And of course, if other people want to connect with me, there is LinkedIn, and my LinkedIn name is Urmi Hossain. I also have a YouTube channel called Urmi Hossain. So people can easily connect with me in any of these ways.
Okay, thank you. I'll put all of that information into the description below, some links where you can find Urmi and maybe get some mentorship. Definitely get started from there. So thank you very much, Urmi. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast today and sharing your story.
Thank you.
To all you women out there who are putting everyone else before themselves, take a break, breathe, and maybe take the time to rethink how you can give and be of service to yourself. Like Urmi said earlier, it's going to take some time. It's follow your intuition, learn to follow your intuition, and it's because you're worth it. Thank you for sharing your inspiring journey, Urmi. And this is it for us for today. Tune in every week on your favorite podcast platform. And if you want to get involved with the Be Guided, Be Inspired community, and you want to share maybe your story, something that changed your life and you want to help other women, write us on the platform at www.beguidedbeinspired.com. Write us and we'll connect together. Let's change the world of women one conversation at a time. Have a nice day. See you soon. Bye-bye.